So this mini lesson will be over some just very basic photo glitching in with Audacity, and we're actually going to start off with an image, doing a screenshot from something from the Google Arts and Culture, something that would be within the public domain at this point. And so make sure you're going with something that's really old enough to fit within that. And you know, I was thinking about this, and one of the things that with glitching, or with glitches themselves, right, is that they jump out at us, right? There's sort of that irritation because they're pointing out something that is not quite right in something that otherwise is just seems so normal to us, right? And so the normal way of seeing things, and so glitches have a tendency to point out that there's some sort of problem that we might not have quite recognized until it reveals itself in the glitch. And so that's why for this assignment, I want you to go, whether it's, I mean, it could be on Google Arts and Culture, it might be somewhere else, it might be something of your own that you've created, where there's something about it that has stood out to you, that stuck out with you, that made you question it, and to feel in some way that maybe things were not quite what they seem to be, right? There was something that just didn't feel right, or something was a little off about it. So finding some image like that. And what I actually started with really was looking at portraits, because when I was playing around with this last night, you know, I just chose actually a self-portrait. But when I went through and kind of played around, and I saw Durers, because I have quite a bit of a background, you know, with my background in German, you know, fairly familiar with his work, and I actually decided to come along with choosing this print here of Adam and Eve. All right, so it's, you know, I mean, so many things that we could say about the not quite right, you know, in this, you know, the ultimate paradise, and yet there must be something wrong for there to be, right, a fall. And so one thing is that when you're going to do a screenshot, you don't necessarily want the magnifying glass little icon down here, so actually go ahead and start it up so you do have a slightly larger view. I'm going to actually maybe try to come in just a little bit more to get a good shot here. So let me do a screenshot real fast. And save this. And actually, this way you can see where I'm saving to. I'm going to go ahead and for this class demo, and I'm going to go ahead and first save it as a PNG because I want to show you why. The way I can go through all the steps I've got on the handout here. So Adam and Eve. All right. So I have them as a PNG, and now I'm done with the internet. I know it's kind of sad, but we are done with the internet for now. And what I next need to do is to actually start up my Photoshop. And open up that file that I just saved. The screen here. Alright. So now that I've got this, I will open it. See, as I was playing around last night. I'm actually going to open our Adam and Eve here. And the only thing I'm going to do right now is I actually want to do a save as, and I'm going to change this file type. For Audacity, you know, JPEGs, PNGs, they typically don't work, and so what I need to do is come down here and save it as a bitmap, right? So this BMP file, that is what we want to go ahead and save this as. It went ahead and changed the extension. It left the rest of the name the same, but it changed the extension, and we're going to save that. Some options came up asking, what file format and things like this and depth. I'm on a Windows, so I hit OK. It saves it, and now I can actually just go ahead and close this. I'll use Photoshop in a little while, so I'll leave that there in the background. So next I need to start up Audacity, and that's the one that has the little blue headphones, and kind of looks like it's on fire there otherwise. Alright, so I can go ahead and full screen that, and what I need to do is to import that bitmap file into Audacity. And so what I need to do is to go up here to File, then Import, and then this last option down here of Raw Data. That is what I need to click on to open. And then I need to find that bitmap file. Alright, so they both come up, but they want the one with the BMP, the bitmap file. And then it's going to ask for some information. We need to change this encoding excuse me, to ULAW, and then we can leave the rest the same and just click import. Alright, so here is that file. We could play it. A lot of times these files, they sound sort of like helicopter propellers or something like this going on. So it's nothing terribly interesting. So and once we have this, all we really have to do then is to choose some areas to then apply some filters to in order to manipulate the data. Now, one thing is they do say, typically depending on the length of the file, is to really not mess with, say, sometimes they say the first 5 to 10. But honestly, I'm seeing that a lot of the header information is probably up here in like the first second or two. I'm going to probably actually leave like the first, say, 5 seconds alone. Right? So I won't touch anything, to this point here. Okay? But I'm going to choose some little spot. And then it's these effects. This is what, when we come down here and we choose an effect and apply it, it will change the information within that file so that when we then export it back into an image, it will alter that image. And some of the really great ones are things like echo, right? And so what's the delay time that we want, and the decay factor. It's not a terribly long file. We could have the 1 second decay factor, I'm going to say is 3, and then alright, so whenever you make a change, it will actually show some sort of change up in here in this blue area where the sound waves now are. Alright, and I can choose some other places. Let's see, why don't we do a little bit of let's invert this, right? So it's going to flip it. Flip the information, not so much file. All right. I just do like a little bit of repeating. Yeah, well, that one last night. It's actually kind of neat to repeat it every time. We'll repeat like about 8 times, right? So that ends up actually adding to our file the length of the file. That right, the time frame really is what it does. And I can even select an area, cut. Now, if you're on the like I am on my PC, it's Control X. If you're on a Mac, then Command X. All right. Oop. Uh-oh. Alright, I've cut that portion, and I can find a little spot and then paste it in there. And I can move parts of it around if I want. Alright. And do a few others. Phasers are kind of nice. You can experiment some with the different sliders here to see what might happen. Once you get more practice with it, you can kind of get an idea as to what sorts of changes will come about because of doing these different sliders. And I'm just going to do a little spot here. Let's change up some things in some other areas as well. Let us change the pitch. Wah wah. Yes, how many wahs we want. Alright. This is fine. And also, just like with the beginning, you don't really want to mess with the last few seconds too at the end. By manipulating, especially the beginning, but even with manipulating end, could end up with a problem of possibly having a file that's so corrupted that it won't actually open again. So, in fact, I just cut and paste a spot, and then we'll even change a little bit with that. Let's do a little fade in there. Alright, so just a little bit of manipulation there, and just kind of experimenting. Now, I do say it's really good to to look at it and to see roughly what areas you've done things on the time scale, and then write down what those changes are. You don't have to give every little detail, but maybe at least what effect was used, and that way when you see the results, you can get an idea as to what kinds of these special effects, how they change that image. And that way, when you do a series of these, you can have a little control, as much as you might want, over how you make those changes. Alright, so now we need to export the audio. Let's put it in here. And then, so what it wants to first do is it wants to export it as this Audacity file, which is not going to work for us. We need the BMP. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in here, double click, so I can get to having a blinking cursor after Eve there. So Adam and Eve. And then I want to call this glitch 1. But here's the really important part, which is leave the period there, but you need to change that file extension to BMP. And this is correct already, so that we need this. But if it could come up as something else, right? A lot of times there's this AIFF, but we don't want that. You want to make sure you're this fourth one here, the other uncompressed files. Then the header type, you want it to be raw headerless, and then the encoding needs to be the same as when we imported, which was ULAW, and so make sure that that is on ULAW. And then we're going to save that. And it'll say, oh, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, we are. Alright. And a little thing came up. Here, let me show you. This also came up on my other screen there. So, you can give any of this information that you might want, artist name, this sort of thing. I can call this. I can give anything else there that I might want. It's probably not going to keep it anyway. And just click OK. And then what happens is my file is now saved as a bitmap. And when I click on it here to have it show in the preview, right, there it is. That is what has happened to the Durers Adam and Eve, because I glitched it with those effects there in Audacity. All right, and so for the assignment is for you to you take that one image and manipulate it like that at least 4 times, making note of what what effects you used and where with each file. And then when you have at least 4, now you can make as many as you want, but within the time frame that we have, is to have at least 4. So then we're going to take them all into Photoshop, and we're actually going to put them together, and that way into one file. All right, and that's what you will then post.